Okay, how's it going, guys? Nearing the end of this gym kit bash, the SD HD kit bash. First thing is I'm ready to put on the decals. All the detail painting and panel lining is all done, so I'm ready to start with the decals. I've got the decals that I think I want to be using here set off to this side, so there's just a few of those. But before that, I do also want to put this together. So this is a small little 120 scale ma.k resin figure, which is obviously in pieces at the moment, but some of the pieces will at least just stay together long enough for us to kind of get an idea of how it's going to go together. Basically, it sits on the edge of something like this. It's kind of sits on the edge of something like that, and I'm going to have it sitting on the edge of a custom base. I have a lot of these like little figures and things like that I wanted to use in like little dioramas or just like pairing up with kit builds and things like that, and so I figure I just need to start using some of them for some of this stuff. So pretty much for like all the kits you might see from me from now on are probably going to also include a little figure like together with that, whether it's meant to be like the pilot figure or just kind of extra staff or working figure or whatever. I just want to make use of all of them together. So this is the figure that I'm going to be using with this. I'm going to maybe having it sitting on the edge of a custom base. So at the moment, I've just let it wash for a while, let it sit in some resin wash just to get it all clean, and then just sprayed a little bit of primer on it just so that I can see the details more clearly and see where it needs to be cleaned up. And there wasn't a whole lot of cleanup. It's a little bit rough on the edge in terms of this figure, just in general, just the molding of it. This is a recast, but even the original cast, it's just a little bit rough. It's just the nature of like the molding for this. But what I need to do for putting the parts together for this is a few of the parts here, especially on the head, don't fit super cleanly. So what I'm gonna do is just use some epoxy putty to not only put the parts together, but also to kind of fill in the gaps between the parts. So the parts like for the head, you have like the part for the back of the head, back of the helmet, and the back of the hair, and you have this like cap part which fits on the top of the head for just the top of the hat, and then the goggles on there, and it's kind of hard to hold it together at the moment, but there's a little bit of gaps between there, so I'm going to use some 2-part epoxy putty, which I've got here, to fill that in. And basically I'm just going to put this all together and just keep the like saluting arm separate to paint that separate, and then I'll just glue it together there at the end. So first we just need to get a little slice of epoxy. You need this is from Tamiya, but there's many of different brands and things you can use. You don't have to use Tamiya brand. You just want to slice off a little bit, equal amounts of both colors, and then just mix it together. Now also the reason I've got some water here standing by, that's for the decals as well, but also just having a little bit of water, it helps make that you can form this stuff without it sticking to your fingers. And also I'll be dipping my tool here in the water as well for forming that, so just makes it so it's not so sticky. Now I only really need a little bit, and you saw I only cut a little tiny bit of this, and that's even still going to be a lot more than I'm going to need, surely. So first off, just to fill the gap, and the gap here between the top and half and the bottom half of the body is really not bad at all. I could probably just get away with not filling that in, but just because I'm a stickler about wanting to make sure there's absolutely no gap in there at all, I'm just going to put a little bit of this in just to fill that. So just going to put a little bit between the part and then just press the parts together so that those are really tight and the putty is all going to come out, and then I can just kind of whisk that away. And there we go, much better. Well, again, it's a very negligible, very tiny difference, but it will be much better for the finished result for sure. Now it's basically just repeat the same process for the head. Just putting the parts onto the head here. So just a little putty in there first. Okay, and so after a little bit of work there, it's really hard to do it in front of the camera, so I just kind of moved to off camera, but you guys get the idea. I had to work in a little putty around it there, and also like the strap of the goggles, which goes over the head, didn't connect well to the part that's connected on like the side of the head here, so a little putty there to bridge the gap, and then once this is all dry, I can just do a little sanding and clean that up so that the strap looks more joined there. But for the most part, that is pretty much it for this. So just wait for all the putty to cure and we can start painting that. Alright, and so the next thing is to decide about the decals. Now, decals are pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to do a demonstration or a tutorial about water slide decals. I just want to talk a little bit about kind of how I go about doing like custom decals for a kit where obviously this doesn't have any specific decal layout. So the first thing that I do is start with like the biggest decals and then work my way down to the smaller ones and filling in like little spaces where I think they want to go. So that usually means starting off with like the main like big numbers or logos or something on the kit. So again, I've got a few things here that I'm looking at. These are just some big numbers. So I might use some of those. Got some Xeon MSV decals here. Thinking about maybe trying to fit some sort of Xeon marking on here. Also would like to try using one of these Chinese, like big Chinese characters like on the shield. Be like that anyway, so putting one of these on. And I've got a few other different ideas that I think I'm going for, or that I'm thinking about. But I'm really having trouble deciding, but I finally think what I'm going to go with is doing a little bit of layering of these big ones here. I think I'm going to put like a couple of big numbers here on the shield, and then lay one of these big Chinese character ones, or kanji, like over the top of that kind of, so they're going to be a little bit layered. So let's try it. And so there's the number laid down there, and here I almost kind of don't like how tight that is. It's really close to the edges on there, so it's kind of just barely fitting. But I think it'll look better once we have the Chinese character laid down. Now, so I think what I'm going to do is maybe lay the same one down over the shoulder, over the top of that one on the shoulder, and then over the top of this one on the shield, possibly. Let's give it a try. Okie dokie, so there it is on the shield. Very nice. There's a little bit of fogging in there. That actually is a product of using Mark Softer with using a future pledge for a just clear gloss top coat. I know there's much debate in the community whether you should do that or not. I use it and it really isn't a problem for me. The only thing that I experience with the problem, the only problem I have with it is in this stage, Mr. Mark Softer, if you have a lot on there, will make a little bit of fogging on there, but once you spray it again, then that will just disappear, so it's really not a problem at all. Anyway, and then on the opposite shoulder, I think that's also looking much better there. Like I said, it was looking a little tight with the number, with only the number on there, but then with the addition of the kanji on there, I think it looks good. The whole space is filled more, and so I think it looks good. And then I threw one here on the opposite shoulder as well, just for another little just kind of symbol to put on there. So that's it for like the main markings. Then the rest of it is just going to be just normal kind of caution markings here. I've got these pulled out, and 1/144 scale ones here from Haikyuu. We got some in white and some in gray. I think I'm going to use a mixture of the two of them, probably mostly white on the orange parts and then on a few little parts of white if I want to do anything at all. I don't know, or gray on the orange parts. I don't know, I haven't quite decided yet. But I'm going to finish up the decals, and then the next time you guys see this kit, it will be done. So that should be just in a few days. Look forward to that video coming soon. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. If you have questions about what I did here today, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.